All right, we're live, and yeah, unfortunately, our other guests won't be able to make it today, but we'll try to get Caleb back on and shortly, maybe another day next week or something. But we do have the one and only, as you can see, the pot stirrer himself, Aaron Foster, on. So it's my second live today, but I guess what afternoon or lunchtime, everyone, right? So how's it going, man?
Good man. Just my so the reason I'm late, Joe V, is I have a good excuse. My former captain's wife passed away, so I was making a Christmas ornament, not a Christmas ornament, an ornament for the my old captain and his two daughters with her name on it and information. So I was running my laser and it was going a little bit longer than I anticipated.
Yeah, no worries, man. So yeah, we'll just we are gonna have Caleb introduce himself and kind of talk about his story, but unfortunately he's not here. But anything you wanted to specifically touch on? I mean, there you wanna maybe piggyback on this morning's conversation about the power of saying no. Any thoughts on that?
That's a great recommendation, but I didn't watch the whole thing because I went to Home Depot to pick up some supplies to fix my neighbor's toilet for her, so I couldn't tell you what they talked about. And I should start this whole podcast off because I know some of your audience, like Joe V, they want to be inclusive. So I identify as he him. My name is Aaron Foster, and I'm cisgender. So I want to make sure that everybody feels welcome here, including Joe V and all the cops, the second responders. So hello to you guys. Thanks for being thanks for being on, listening to us.
Yeah, and if not, First Responder Financial Freedom is also streaming live right now, so go check them out, support them there, subscribe. But that is also Aaron's project with Tyler and Mike Webb, and they've kind of taken a little hiatus from that. Looks like they're gonna maybe start it back up again. But yeah, like I said, anything top of mind? Trump's proposal for capping credit card interest rates, possibly what banning institutional buyers. Anything you want to dig into?
Let's start with yeah, let's start with that. That sounds good. I got a couple of things in mind, but yeah. So like, all right. So what's the average credit card interest rate in the U.S.? That's the first thing. It's like I think the average credit card right now is around 24%. So this even go. I'm not gonna call them out specifically, but there's a family member who thought that they had to hold a balance on the credit card in order for the credit card to stay open. So they didn't pay the credit card off every single month, and I had to explain to them you can pay it off every single month. If you're using it, it's still going to maintain your credit. And anything over, it's a 740 is more just conversation purposes. If you're above a 740 at that point, it's ego. So if you're doing good and you're making your payments and you have a pretty good credit score, I mean the 800 is great, but it doesn't get you any benefits anywhere else if you're going to go buy a house or a car or a blow up doll for the cops. So like stuff like that, like you just really got to take into consideration. Um, so the 8 to 10%, I think it's a lot of people are not going to qualify for the 10%. So I think there's going to be a lot of people who are excited about it, but because their credit is so shot, I think that they're going to miss out on having the ability to get a credit card. Yeah, 24 to 26%. That sounds about right. I think so. We did a podcast like a year ago. I think that's what it was then too. It hasn't changed much. I think the average credit card debt in the U.S. I mean, it depends on your income level. Last time I looked, but it was like the average. I want to say like the average was like $10,000 across the board for all income earners. That could be low income earners or high income earners. So I mean, $10,000 is a lot of money at 24%. Like you're never getting caught up at that rate.
Yeah, I think actually, like you're right. I think it was also mentioned by the administration probably like a year ago too, right? They presented it or they were talking about it or someone was talking about it. But do you think it's kind of political theater or is it something? Because I saw part of it that it might be only for a year. So do you think it's something that might just help people in the short term, like if they do have credit card balances, to maybe save on some interest? But then the flip side of that is will they actually use that savings and pay down that debt, right? If they're saving money on the interest, or they're going to now spend it, right?
So that's like when they say, okay, we're going to give you guys, a tariff payoff. Like everybody's getting a check for $2,000 in the country because the tariffs are paying so much. Like, yeah, so that's kind of it's a tongue in cheek move. All right, you're gonna give me $2,000. They know that these people are going to pay down debt. They know that these people are going to invest it, and then these people are going to go out and blow it on hookers and blow. So, like, it depends on the demographic you're going to use. They want to put that money back into the economy to keep the economy moving forward. They want you to spend the money. So if you don't spend the money and you're scared, then not scared, but if you don't want to spend the money and you want to use it for investment purposes or pay off, some of your loans, then it doesn't really go back into the economy the way they want it to. Biden did the same thing, and I think it blew back on him as well. Is it Biden or Obama? I can't remember which one it was. But political theater, yeah, I think a lot of it's political theater. I think a lot of the stuff is make the comment, throw it at the wall, see what they say, see what kind of feedback you get, um, and if it works out, great. If it doesn't, then it's just more talking points, and it's just a waste of our time until they make it happen and comes to fruition.
So this is kind of maybe on a slightly separate topic, but you were on shoot one last week Friday, I believe, with Emily and Tyler,
Mm-hmm.
and I put one of Emily's shorts out there talking about Dave Ramsey, and there was a lot of comments on the YouTube side of things, right? People talking about debt, and I think that kind of relates to even credit cards and interest, right? So like the credit is meant to be used, and if people don't know how to use it, it becomes a tool that becomes a problem for them, right? So you want to maybe touch on that as relating that to the Dave Ramsey comments on about using debt.
Yeah, so that was the podcast that you didn't put my picture up or information about me or who I am.
Well, you told me last minute that's why you were coming. He's a prima donna. Like, you know what? I'll show up today because I feel like it.
Oh, it's not because I feel like it's because I only had time. Like my wife just took the kids out for a drive to get them to fall asleep, and she just came back, and I was like, I think I'm gonna hop on with Mark. Let's. I was like, I'll come back up in an hour or so. But yeah, like it's everything. I mean, you got young kids. It's everything is last minute. Like, I mean, I get it. So my apologies for not giving you a proper heads up. I tried to today. That obviously didn't work because Caleb has four young kids as well, under six. He's got four under six, which is crazy. You can't pull out of a parking spot. But I mean, Dave Ramsey. I mean, it's. I think Joe V just said he's got a good point. Like people who spend, people who save, and people who invest. So I think a lot of the stuff is. How do I say? A lot of the stuff goes back to education, right? So what kind of culture do you grow up around? Is it a spending culture? Is it a saving culture? Is it a investing culture? And do you have a habit of just wasting money and blowing money? So I was watching something earlier, and it was this multimillionaire billionaire, Ricci, I think his name, Ricci, Ricci, and he was saying that how every quarter he sits down with his wife and kids and they go over their financials. And one side he says, okay, this is what we're worth, this is what I'm worth, this is what we're invested in, these are the companies that we own, this is where we spend our money. And they go down, and each kid has the same thing. So like the kids' age gaps is 12 years apart. And the kid who's obviously the older of the family says, okay, I have this much money, this is what I'm invested in, this is what I'm doing with the money. The youngest one is like, well, I don't have as much money as he does. Well, it's because he's had compound interest for 12 years. And I think this all goes back to the education aspect of it, which we've talked about before, is if we're not taught these things, we don't know these things. A lot of us, especially blue collar folks who are in the first responder realm, military guys, we're never taught this kind of stuff when we're growing up. So we don't know like how these things move, how they integrate and operate. So I personally think that it kind of goes back to childhood. I think the school system is failing in teaching us very important things like finances and interest rates and such. And I think we can get away from like algebra and teach finances instead, or get away from like political science and get into financing and investing. Like if you were to learn how to invest in stocks when you were in high school, I mean, for me that was obviously 30 years ago. So 30 years ago, if I learned how to invest in stocks, I would be a multi-millionaire now because I understand how the market works. And I didn't know that until I was in probably my 20s or 30s, and that was only because I was self-taught. And that's because YouTube came out, and YouTube University is one of the best accredited uh, certificates you can get.
Joe V is saying your wife is probably glad Aaron's not around to bother her. But
There,
on all nighter hider does say like pew pews, credit cards are a tool, and the user is responsible for how they use the tool. The terms of use are not difficult to understand or follow. To use the tool rather than be used by the tool. Yep.
so I just recertified my concealed carry uh, like 2 3 weeks ago because we had to recertify every 2 years. And I agree with you. Like, in the class, like the guy who's teaching the class is a sniper. So my buddy owns a company. He owns a gun shop. The guy who's teaching this class was a sniper. And of course, because he's a cop, I'm talking trash the whole time. He's using me as examples and making fun of me the whole time. Like I think everybody else in the class was like really uncomfortable, but we were not. M.
I messaged her and it said she can come stir the pot with the one and only. So she was glad.
All right, so
willing to join us.
I'll finish my thought and then we'll give Emily a nice warm welcome. So the to your point, Haidar, is like I agree with you, but like you get some people who have guns who shouldn't have guns because they have no idea how to operate them. They don't know how to fix them. They don't know how to oil them. They don't know how to maintain them. So like have somebody sit down and talk to them about it. I think it's a really just like schooling. Like you need to get the education in order to move forward. So like you can go from just buying a gun to building a gun with the right education and the right tools. So for finances, it's the same thing. Like if you don't have the tools, you don't have the education, you don't have the knowledge. Because as I said in the last podcast with Emily, is that knowledge in use is power, just not knowledge that's stagnant. Um, so yeah, I think I saw one of the Brady has a lot of faith in the government. Apparently, he said he wants to pay the national debt down. He thinks they're going to use the money wisely.
Well, I think that makes more
They
sense.
must both be cops.
It's just people won't. Many people won't understand that, right? And they'd rather just have their money. So I think that's the biggest issue.
I
Hey,
just don't.
Emily, but
I
go.
just know that if the government has the money, they're not spending it wisely. So like I know if I have the money, I can do more in my returns than they will because they have a constant influx of money coming in from our hard-earned dollar. So I don't think that the government does a good job of. And if you look at government contracts, like you can go on right now and look at the government contracts and look and see what they're paying for stuff. It's like crazy. Like the annual Rand Paul Festivus, I think it's called report. It does a report every year at the end of the year. It shows how much waste and how much money is going to different things like getting hamsters high and how much faster they run on a hamster wheel. Like it's that's crazy. So I'm done. Emily,
I guess yeah. Me and Aaron
thanks
can
for getting
leave
on and making
because
both me and Mark look good.
yeah, so everyone is now. There's a real live. Emily's here, and hey, Emily. So I guess me and Aaron can just leave now. But Emily, have you kind of been listening into what we were kind of just talking about real quick?
So I just picked up on. I wasn't listening before. I was getting ready to get tools and go to a job site. So I just hopped on. So no, I'm picking up on the tail end of it.
Yeah, we kind of just started talking about Trump's proposal for capping interest rates on credit cards at 10%. And then we brought up the Dave Ramsey shorts and reels that I put up, and people were pushing back on your YouTube side, and Aaron was commenting on them. So I don't know, do you have any thoughts on the credit cards, like interest rates being capped at 10%?
I don't like a lot of government interference, to be honest with you. I think that if you are going, if you're going to take debt, you pay it back. You take responsibility for the choices you make, and nobody makes you take on debt. And so if there's a cap, then they're going to let you borrow less. It's just going to have a different impact. And I just think that we're responsible for our choices, and you're responsible for the consequences of your choices. And we live in a world where nobody wants to be accountable for the decisions they make. And so I know if I take on credit card debt, that interest rate can be really high. Take it or don't. I choose not to, right? And so people just want to blame somebody else. So I don't know. I think it's got to be worth lending to a high risk person because 10%, when you think about it, you can get hard money for 10%. And if you think about the debt, a credit card debt is not secured. You don't get a comeback. Like if you take on credit card debt at 18%, they loan you that money. You buy dumb shit with that money. You buy purses and couches and whatever dumb consumer debt people take on. They don't get to come and get that stuff back and resell it like a house where you have security for the mortgage. And so it's like student loans. That's why they're so risky too, is you're borrowing to an unqualified person with no security for it. Like you don't get to take back that education and sell it on the secondary market. So when you have unsecured debt, the rates have to be high enough to be worth the risk versus reward, right? So I don't know. I hadn't even heard that, but I think that it's got to be worth them lending, or they're just not going to, and there's not going to be options for people that take on that debt.
And I want to welcome Ike Hobbs here now. So Ike is joining us. He is a firefighter out in Kansas, right? So Ike, quickly tell everyone, I guess, your story, what you invest in. It's been a while since you've been on.
Hasn't been that long, but yeah.
Oh, you got the coconut wireless
in,
going again.
wasn't that bad?
No, go ahead, man.
No, down rural Kansas, and got a few buy properties, most of which I've bought, rehabbed, and refinanced. So just building slowly, managing everything right now, and slowly growing.
Very
What's
cool.
the market like in Kansas?
It's pretty stable. It never got the big highs, and it's when I rent stuff, it goes really fast as far as renting it. But when it goes to selling stuff, it's not unusual to be a couple months. So
Where in Kansas are you?
I work in Wichita, and then most of my stuff's about an hour south of there in a little town called Winfield.
So let me. I know obviously Mark's the one who invests the furthest of all of us. How far out? It's Emily and Ike. How far out do you guys invest?
I mean,
I'm
like
just-
I'll go. Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead. I'm just in my town right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Ike?
Yeah, I go about an hour south. There's a couple towns close to each other that I used to work in one of them and lived in the other one, so that's where I got started. So I've got a pretty good knowledge of what's going on in that area, and it's not quite as competitive as Wichita, but the rent to price ratio is really good. So for my buy and holds, I'm really happy to go there. And since I've got everything right in that area, that's where I'll go. So about an hour.
So, Aaron, Emily is also considering possibly investing out of state. And like you, she does a lot of work herself. But so she's trying to possibly look at a different market to distance herself so she doesn't get herself involved in the project. So for you, have you ever thought about that? Or does it work for you being close to your properties?
I mean, I'll argue both sides of that because I've got in the last 20 years, I've had properties 3 hours east, 3 hours west, 2 hours south, and that's all dependent on traffic. It could be 5 hours depending on how bad traffic is. So obviously, I'm in the DC market. I've gone to Western Maryland. I've gone to the beaches over in the shores. The problem is, and Emily, because she swings her own hammer, she's got the same problem. Is that like finding a contractor that's one good, two you can rely on, and three will show up like the three biggest obstacles. Because depending on the market you're in, you might get a whole bunch of contractors that you can work with. But there's one, like I had one meth head move into my property. I showed up. This is 3 hours away from me, 3.5 hours away from me. I showed up and my brand new redone living room had tools with plastic down. It looked like a Dexter room. And I was like, what the fuck is going on in here? So apparently come to find out later on, he didn't tell me the truth. He's like, oh yeah, well the lock on my trailer broke and I didn't want anybody to steal the tools. So I took them out of there. I laid them out and I was like, man, you better kiss my natural pink pasty ass. Like that's you're a contractor. Fucking drill some holes and put a hasp on it. But apparently found out later on that his wife kicked him out because she caught him doing something bad that he wasn't supposed to do. And then after I kicked him out of the house, I think he got arrested for being high and on paraphernalia and driving a car like a mile away on meth. So that's when I call him a meth head. Like he was a meth head and he was a fucking crackhead. So like he was one of the recommended ones there. And I was like, if this is the best of what they got in this area, like I'm fucked. Like this is the area, like we did development. We built a neighborhood. While I was there, I saw this house pop up in the market for 170. It was the bottom of a ski resort. So you come down the hill, you go through the parking lot and the house on the other side of the street. So location was great. It's just the quality of the contractors there were horrible. So if you can find somebody, great. But Tyler and I had this conversation before. And I think Mark, you were on the podcast, was if you're going to do this, make sure they send you not just pictures, but video. Because you can always angle it the right way, so like it doesn't show how bad the mud was. Like if the wall's doing this because their mud job is terrible. And I saw the video of you doing some mud work the other day. Emily, not Mark, because Mark doesn't swing hammers. I don't know about Ike yet.
Just hose pulling.
Hoses.
I mean,
do a lot, but I don't do drywall because I suck at that.
So you can hire somebody to do the hang, or you can hire somebody to do the taping. I do the hanging. I'll hire somebody to do the taping if I can find somebody. But again, like a lot of the ones in this area, they're foreign. Getting a hold of them to do smaller jobs is hard. If they're hanging like 40, 50 sheets, no problem. But if they're hanging like a sheet, it's not really worth their time to come out and do it. So I just think that finding the contractors who will show up, who don't have a meth problem, who aren't in jail, like I think those are the biggest obstacles. Depending on where you go, like my market's the East Coast, so like I have friends of mine, like the Brotherhood Buffs guys, right? So Ian and Dan, like they're friends of mine. IQ probably know who they are, the ones that yell at the fire trucks as they go get them brothers. So they own a whole bunch of shit at the firehouses around their firehouses in Baltimore before they quit. And they were like, "Yeah, man, we got this guy. He does your structural, do your basement, he'll do your foundation. Pay him a bag of fucking weed and a 6-pack of Miller Lite or whatever it was." And I was like, "These are not the kind of contractors I want to deal with. Like, these are not the kind of guys. Like, I can't leave my tools there now. Like, if I leave them there, they got to be in a toolbox." So seems like Mark's got a good contractor. He's got good contacts. Marketing, if depending on where you're going to go, we talked about this last podcast, was if you're going to go to a major East Coast city, it could be very much a block by block or street by street project. So you got to really know the market. Where are you looking at going?
So I'm not really tied to anything. I've looked at, just because I've seen people in the community who are doing things in certain areas. Like Mark has a base set up in the area he's investing. So it's nice to have somebody who, it's not a realtor trying to sell you something. It's not a property manager trying to bring on more clients. Like Mark doesn't care if I buy or sell in Pittsburgh or not, right? He's just sharing his experience there. So I've been looking a little bit in Pittsburgh. I got pretty freaked out by Detroit. I know people are doing it there, but when people are telling me that their water heaters are being stolen out of the inside of their houses and their furnaces are being stolen, like, that pisses me off so bad. I don't even want to deal with that. I don't think so. I think for me, my market is good and I can invest in my market and make money, but I have a hard time releasing control and stepping back. And so I can't scale as much as I would like to when I'm doing all the work. So I kind of feel like I have to go somewhere else to pull myself out a little bit, or I just need to do some internal work to sub things out and say, okay, it's not exactly like you'd want it, but you can't scale that way doing everything yourself.
You're right. So I'll agree with you and I'll disagree with you. I agree with you because we're of the same mindset. We work on our own houses, make the maximum profit because we're doing the work. And you'll hear a lot of people, especially investors say, or people who want to be investors say, "I'm not going to do the $25 an hour work when I can be out making $100 and some odd dollars." Like, apparently you don't know how much contractors cost nowadays, because hanging drywall or replacing a tub or replacing like a bathroom, I think around here right now for the market, it's $40,000 give or take for a good size, not a standard, but a good size bathroom renovation. Like, and I'm like, you get a Schluter system, you'll have that thing done in a week. So I'm making $40,000 a week. So then it goes back to like, is it worth for me to go out and hire contractors somewhere else? The numbers have to really make sense for me to do that. Or I can piece it together. Like, I'm not going to be the kind of person who's going to invest long distance unless the house is turnkey and I don't have to have any work where it's like minor work, minor repairs. So, I mean, when you guys come to the East Coast, it's just a different world than where you guys are at now. I don't know to say it. Like, you got to know the area. So Pittsburgh, same thing. Like, it could be Philly, same thing. It could be this block is great, this block is shit. Like Kensington, obviously, is an open air drug market up in Philly. And people are like, there's such good deals up there. Do you ever spend time? I'm like, fuck no. Like, why would I go up to that cracky, those kind of area? So, like, yeah, I mean, I think that it's just like the neighborhood or the areas that you grew up in. Like, you know it intimately. You know the blocks. You know the troubled area. You know, if you go at 3:00 in the morning, the train's going to go past this house. So it's going to be a ding in your selling promotions. I don't know. I'll argue both sides because I think if you stay local, somewhat local, and just go for the home runs, like, it makes more sense. Like, I do 1 to 5 houses a year. I've done it for 20 years. Sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. This year I've got 2 lined up in the pipeline, but I'm going for home runs only. Like, I'm not going to go for a $20,000 or $30,000 house because for me the market swing is too volatile, I guess. So $20,000 or $30,000 for either seller subsidies or a major repair or something goes bad is too high. It's too much of a risk. It needs to be like a 50 to 100,000.
You're not going for 2 5s, right?
Yeah, you can't fuck 5. You can't fuck 5 2s and call them a 10.
Not 5s, 5 2s, Mark.
You can't fuck 5 2s and call them a 10. The captain that told me that, his wife was the one that passed away that I'm making the stuff for. He's the one. That's why I like him so much. I'm making him stuff. He gave me life advice. Quality over quantity.
Flavio is trying to tell you that Pittsburgh has high crime also. That's just Flavio. Joe V is saying. No, go ahead.
I'm in a small town, and I have the same issues. Like, but where I'm at, if I put up a few things and make it look like I'm around or somebody's around at least, then I've stopped having issues. But like, even small towns, like, I think everywhere, if somebody thinks they can get away with it, they're going to do it. So not quite as bad as Detroit, but I closed on a duplex like a year and a half ago, and the ACs got stolen the day I closed. And it was either the seller that did it or somebody else that knew something. But I put cages on everything and haven't had an issue since. But I pay pretty close attention. I'm kind of in the same issue of like, I've spent a lot of time on these and I'm trying to scale, so I've got to stop doing less. But at the same time, if you pay attention, like these aren't that bad.
So Emily, Joel V is saying if he needs a partner in Wisconsin if you need a new market to look at investing.
Send me your details and what you're looking for and what that would look like for you.
Wisconsin. See, I worry about like the Rust Belt, just because like it's so hard on the houses. It's like if you want to buy the beach, like if you buy one block off the beach versus on the beachfront property, it's a lot less wear and tear in your house from like the salt or the damage or the whatever. So like for me, when I look at areas like even cars, like I'm gonna look in Texas and Arizona and New Mexico for cars because they're gonna be the ones that are not from the salt belt where they're getting chewed up and the undercarriage is destroyed. So same thing for houses. Like if I'm going to look at houses, I'm looking in an area where they're not getting destroyed by weather.
Yeah, like Salt Lake City, when we buy cars, because we're so close to Salt Lake, if you buy something used, they use salt on all their roads, and Wyoming uses sand, and you notice a big difference on the undercarriage of the vehicles.
Hyder, who bought something in Gary, his first stay in Gary, Indiana, a 3 a.m. train ran directly behind the building, shaking everything and loud as fuck. Cool experience. Once is enough, though. Jovi is actually complimenting you, Aaron. He said it is nice doing that for the kids. I hate saying the firefighters doing good.
Well, let me step back there. He also got same captain who said you can't fuck 5.2s and call him a 10. He said that if I came near his daughters, he'd cut my balls off because his daughters are like 5 or 6 years younger than me. And I'm still friends with the whole family. Like I'm still friends with, I was friends with Kim and Bobby and the 2 daughters. So it's a good family, good people.
Brady, who's in Wyoming, says, I leave my tools on the job site without locking them up. How many areas can you do that in?
I've never had an issue. But I think in Wyoming, people, like, there's a lot of guns. There's a lot of private property. Don't screw with people, and I think people...
Nobody steals Ryobi that side. No, that's the joke, Aaron. Okay, well, since Aaron and Ike are here, then what is there certain tools you guys prefer to use? There's kind of a little debate, I guess, going on.
Ike, go ahead, buddy.
I have DeWalt because when I was a teenager, I started with DeWalt. So I've got all my batteries are in DeWalt.
Batteries.
I'd be in Milwaukee if I had batteries there, but I like DeWalt. I had a buddy helping me with my last project. He had Milwaukee, and certain things, it's like everything. Certain things other companies do better, but DeWalt's super solid. So
I've got everything. I literally have. I've got an entire series of Ryobi at my beach house. I've got Rigid. I've got DeWalt. I've got Milwaukee. I've got Metabo. What else do I have? I just bought a new Bosch chop saw for trim work. So I was giving Emily a hard time on Instagram because she did one of those sped up videos, time lapse videos, and I saw her stop and walk away from the job, and I was like, so I played it back, and I saw the battery was missing because her battery had died on her DeWalt saw.
We're on it. So right now we're not ready for the electrician to come back. So we have one outlet that has, a power strip on it. And so somebody commented, oh, you should always keep a battery charged. And it's like, yeah, but I have limited battery power. And the other thing too, this is really important for people. Every house fire I have heard of, like pretty recently, is some sort of a charger. And a lot of I've heard of are like kids' electric scooters, people charging their kids' scooters. So chargers are kind of the main thing. So I don't like to leave those charging when I'm not there on a vacant house.
I'll hit that from all different angles.
Oh yeah, that's for you guys. Yeah, let's talk about fires. I mean, everything in our town, it's like someone leaving a charger somewhere and it's starting a fire.
So before I got hired by DC, I was doing my internship with the ATF. Don't hate me. I was trying to do arson investigation in the county where we had a big DC arsonist. And a lot of the people were like, we'll say certain people in the area who were investigators who were kind of lazy. Everything was like, oh, that was an electrical fire. Oh, all right, so let's send out the box and see if it was actually, send that to the ATF and have it studied and see if it was an actual electrical fire. Like, oh, well, we're going to just make them undetermined now. So like a lot of I just know in the country when people say, "Oh, it's an electrical fire," I'm like, all right, we'll prove it. Well, I can't because I didn't send it out. It's just my opinion because here's the V patterns and whatever else. So I think a lot of investigators in the country, from the ones I've experienced, are dumb as dog shit, and they're just trying to get that paycheck because they don't know what they're actually doing. So yes, but I also agree with you because um, a lot of they're over. So in DC and Baltimore right now, you get paid for charging scooters overnight. So the scooters right around the city. Um, It's another advice that my captain gave me. He's like, don't get caught fucking a fat girl and don't get caught in a scooter. They're both fun, but you don't want to get caught doing it. Same captain. So what they're doing is they're charging these things, these scooters, and um, they're drawing too much power off the line, right? So we draw too much power off the line, makes the line get hot. If the lines are old, like if you have a cotton wrap or something like that, then it can cause a fire. So we've had a couple fires in the DC metro area or the East Coast area because people are trying to draw too much power to make money by charging these scooters.
You're gonna have to make T-shirts, merchandise with all your quotes and sayings. But Brady is saying I might have spent more money on batteries than the tools themselves.
What did I tell you, Emily? Oh, Emily. Yeah, we talked about this on Instagram. So I went out and bought a bunch of what was it, Heart and something else. What were the ones I bought? Heart. So if I have a bunch of like DeWalt and a bunch of like rigid and
Oh,
like a bunch of
converter.
Milwaukee, yeah, you can buy an adapter off of eBay for $10 to $15. So if like my rigid goes out, then I have DeWalt batteries there. Then I can just put the adapter from rigid to DeWalt, and it's like $10 or $15 if I have extra batteries there. So instead of like waiting for this battery line to charge, like I've got 2 or 3 dead rigid batteries right now, and I'm like, I don't want to go out and buy $199 worth of batteries. Like, I'll go buy $50 batteries and just get this just as much voltage. Just get the adapter. So that's my life advice to you guys. Can't fuck 5.2s, can't fuck a fat girl, ride a scooter, and buy the adapter for the batteries.
The best tool is the tool you can afford. And when you're starting out, you got to start with what you can get your hands on, and then you can upgrade as you go. But we talked about this before, but people were building houses years ago with none of the stuff we have. So obviously you don't have the skills. It makes it easier. But look at what people are doing many, many years ago without even electricity.
It's taking a lot longer too.
Oh, yeah.
Although I would still like to build a Sears house. I love craftsman style houses. I think those were really super cool. I'd love to build some houses like that at some point. It's just the cost and time is a lot higher now.
So you say you're doing 1 to 5 houses a year. Are you flipping? Are you holding on to them? How do you decide what you keep and what you get rid of?
So the average house cost in DC is $650,000. The average house cost in PG County, where I'm sitting right now, is I think $450,000 to $550,000. So it really depends on what the property value is. So how good of a deal am I getting on it? How much money will I make on it? How long you got to sit on it for 2 years to do a 1031 supposedly. So like if I take a loss for 2 years, can I make that up in the back end by paying less taxes? Or if I do a 1031, is it in a high appreciation area? Do I need a cash pop right now? Like right now I'm flipping a house. Like I could turn it into a rental pretty easily. I bought it I can give you the numbers. I bought it for $265,000. I probably put $35,000 into it. Market rent is $2,700 for a 3-2 with an unfinished basement. Oh, a finished basement, no bedrooms, no egress windows. So if I refinance with the new rate drop coming up in probably April, how much will my mortgage be? Is it enough of a profit margin for me to keep it? Probably not. I can do a cash pop. I want to fund off of this deal. I'm going to fund my 2 sons their 529 plan. So if I drop, I'll give you the whole thing. So if I sell it and I make a profit of say $85,000, $75,000, I can take probably $20,000 or $30,000, put it into my son's 529s plans. So the 529 plan is an educational savings account for the government. If 15 years at 6.5%, which is what it averages out to, I'll have about $100,000 to $200,000 for each kid going into their college days. So like each thing I do has a very specific reason why I'm going that route. I would really like to do more development as I go towards retirement, but I don't know if it's worth it. I just don't know. A buddy of mine is a firefighter up in the Pennsylvania-Maryland border. He called me yesterday. He sent me a property. He's like, hey, this county just rezoned. If you have R2, then now you can put townhouses up there. What do you think about this 2-acre lot for $375,000. I was like, okay, well, let's run the numbers. You can fit for urban, you can probably fit between 24 and 36 row houses in that area. Depends if you're doing a 2-1 or a 3-2. I was like, what's it selling for up there? So he gave me comps. One of them for a 2-1 was selling for 310. I was like, okay, for a 310, for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath, selling for 310 at 1,700 square feet, you're at a build out cost of $180,000. At $180,000, that's a tight profit margin. So you have to do a whole bunch of these and have upgrades for people to buy into, like upgrade the bathrooms, upgrade the kitchens, upgrade the counters, upgrade the carpet. So at $180 a square foot for those build outs, it doesn't make sense for me because that doesn't take into account the permits, the fees, impact fees, land development, site clearing, all the dirt work that you have to do for it. So for me, I was like at 375, that's not even taking into account all the dirt work and all the permits and all the build out costs for that. So that doesn't make sense to me. So like I've done it all. I've done it. And after the 08 crash, I used to do tax liens. I probably did a couple dozen tax liens. Tax liens, 99% of them pay back. Only had one that didn't pay back. I sold that in Craigslist within 48 hours of actually closing on it. Shows you how old I am. Yeah, I've done a little bit of everything. Development, we did neighborhoods. I could have probably retired from the fire department back in my 30s, but I was scared too. I ain't gonna lie. And I enjoyed like kicking doors and saving babies 15 years ago.
As long as you're not kicking babies and saving doors.
Good life advice. That could be a T-shirt. Kick doors.
Yeah, exactly. Put it on your woodwork stuff that you're shipping out of state now.
And some people love it, and some people get pissed off about it.
I like to stir the pot, but there's certain areas I can't stir too hard. I know what I'm allowed to get away with in certain areas.
You were mentioning 529s though. Is there a maximum you can deposit in the 529?
That's a good question. I don't know. Actually, let's look it up.
Google it.
Sorry, I'm muted. I think there's none, but there's state and I think each state has different tax requirements, I believe, but there's no like technical limit you can deposit.
Individual contributions with $19,000 per beneficiary per year. Married couples up to $38,000 per beneficiary per year. So I mean, technically, since I'm married, she's still putting up with me. I can put about $76,000 in there for the 2 kids, $38,000 each.
Well,
so your averages though, like, so one of the things you need to pay attention to if you're going to do something like this, twofold. One, the average rate of return for the 529 plan is 6.5%. Average rate of return for comparison for the S&P is going to be 10%. So which one makes more sense? Same thing for if you buy real estate instead of the 529 or S&P index ETF fund. What's your rate of return going to be, and which one are you going to make the highest rate of return, and what's the benefit for it? So the 529 you can write off against your earned income, and you can also get a 529 plan in any state. It doesn't have to be your state. So right now the popular states for your kids, if you're going to buy one or put money into one, is going to be Utah and Georgia because the rates are lower. I'm sorry, not the rates. The fees are lower, and the benefits for Maryland, if I put it into, say, Georgia, which I just did, I can still write that off against my taxes. But some states you can't do that. I really recommend is going on like ChatGPT and laying it out. Like I have $10,000, $20,000, whatever it might be, to put towards my kid's 529 plan. What would you recommend? And it'll give you an entire financial breakdown.
I don't know. I see Jovi's comment here, but it's not popping up on the chat where I can share it. He's asking, can't read Emily's shirt. What does it say?
Oh, it's faded because we made it years ago. It says capitalism works if you do. And the print on the background is like dollar bills or $100 bills.
It looks like you're about to go to work.
Exactly. Yeah, no, this has been worked in for years. But it's funny because on my Instagram, there's so many people that are like, yeah, great. And then there's people, lots of people hate capitalism right now because they don't want to work.
Yeah.
So Ike, what are you working on? I saw some videos. Are you refinancing something, or I forgot what you're doing?
Yeah, I just finished up a fourplex last week.
Nice.
So waiting on the appraisal right now. I've still got a few things to do, but it's all occupied. So waiting on the appraiser to come out, take a look. And with it being small town, that'll be a little little interesting to see what they do on comps, but cash flow wise, it should be pretty good. And I'm actually sitting right now in a empty unit. Had a tenant move out yesterday, so going through to see what I need to do and get that turned
How'd they
around.
leave it?
Pretty good. They're really good tenants, but there's some slight stuff that I'll have to do, and a little bit of other stuff that they probably shouldn't have messed up. So we'll just take that out of the deposit and go from there. So I probably have it rented by the end of the month.
What's let me if you don't mind sharing? What's is like 2-1, 3-2? What is it?
Yeah, two on duplex.
What's the market rent for that
So,
there?
We'll probably get 750, and then it's more updated than most of the ones around here. There's either brand new apartments in the area or slumlord apartments, and we kind of fill the niche of right in between. And then I'll charge $25 a month pet fee, and that's what'll get most of the people asking me to rent. So that's been really beneficial. Let people do pets, and so far I haven't had to pay for it, but I know eventually I will. So
this is for all three of you. When you look at acquisitions, are you looking at the monthly projected pro forma of these things, like what it could be? So, like for you, if it's 750, did you buy each unit for $75,000, or how does that break down for you all?
So this one was a burr for me, and I think I came out to about 45 grand per unit when all was said and done.
That's great. So it beats the 1% rule then.
Yeah, by quite a bit. And when I bought it almost 2 years ago, I think just slightly longer, I was thinking about 600 on rents. So we're doing quite a bit better than I expected on rents. But so far we keep upping things and still get a lot of interest. So
what about you,
trying to get
what's your benchmark?
Me?
Yeah.
So I don't really, I'm kind of fly by the seat of my pants. Like I know some people have spreadsheets and numbers. I kind of look at it and I go, okay, so I've always bought stuff I could add value to, but like this year I bought a fourplex and it was in good shape. I mean, I would probably make it a little nicer as people move out, but it was fully rented. It was, and one thing I was going to ask Ike about the small market, but we were worried about it appraising. So the rents made sense for the cash flow on it, but we don't have a lot of small multifamily comps in our area. So those don't appreciate in the same way single families do. Like you have a property that you know is worth, as an investor, it's worth the purchase and the cash flow, but it's going to have a hard time appraising because the comps haven't kept up. And so like I have a triplex that makes me a really good amount of money. And if I could, it's a house in the front and a house in the back that's an upstairs and downstairs apartment. Because of the zoning, I can't split it because the lots would be too small. But that would be worth so much more if I could split it. And it cash flows great, but there's not other multifamily homes that have sold, so appraisers don't have the comps. And so that's like, so I just bought a fourplex. And it was not a fixer. It was in great shape. And everyone's like, oh, it's, that seems high for the comps, but I knew it was a good value just because of the return on it. So that sometimes it's like, what's the return? A lot of times I'm going to renovate it and I can just go, okay, here's what it costs. Here's how much it's going to cost me to renovate it. Here's how long it's going to take that I'm going to have to carry it. Here's the rents when they're done. Good. It's kind of like back in my brain. I couldn't really, it's not that official, but it's worked for me so far. So.
What about you, Mark?
Me, I
just ask questions. You don't like to answer questions.
I fly by the seat of my. Well, there's many people on here. That's why. So I try to get you guys involved. But yeah, I just fly by the seat of my pants more now. I mean, definitely in the beginning, you follow a spreadsheet more. It's definitely more by the numbers. But now, it's definitely more like what location it is, and even a lot of the properties now that I'm getting, they're tenant occupied. So I'm fine with it being under market at the time, but it's you kind of like you're saying, you kind of know the rent box as far as what it's going to project down the road. But now it gives you also time to get the property stabilized because you have someone in there, paying rent. So it's not like everything has to be done right away. So that's kind of more what I'm leaning towards now. I think when you first get started, you're definitely hesitant about having tenants in there. You're kind of worried about that. But as you get more properties, get more experience, I think it's actually a better position to be in to get properties with tenants in there. So you can kind of take your time to get things done and let things stabilize, and maybe do one side for if it's a multi-family, right? Get one side done, things like that. So that's kind of more where I'm at now, tenant occupied properties and getting rents up over time.
What's
And-
interesting for all of you guys is that, like, depending on where you're at, like most of the duplexes here, they're separate tax deeds. So like you can't, for the most, depending on what part you're in, because every 5 minutes this way, 5 minutes that way, it's very different. But like for the most part here, a duplex is not under one tax deed, it's under two tax deeds. Same thing for like, we do a lot of condo conversions. We talked about last time for like Ike. So if we do a condo conversion, what can each one sell for versus what can it rent for? So can each one get a tax deed? Is that in the bylaws for the area that you're investing in?
Interesting. And that's kind of like we've heard, and I don't pay that much attention to it because I would never invest there, but California talking about trying to make condoizing easier for ADUs and being able to split them up so you can sell them separately, and that solves some problems. That's just, it's interesting how different a market can be based on the needs and the density issues.
Yeah, and the politics.
Yeah, I think those are more in, if you're looking at most of them, they're in the markets that restrict building and are higher cost of housing. So like Pittsburgh, it's affordable. So that's why those type of things aren't really in play yet. Even like ADUs haven't become a big thing in Pittsburgh yet because building and homes are still affordable there. But Aaron, you did talk about 529. Harrison's here, your buddy Harrison in Virginia Trade Better 99 says, Aaron, what are you planning for your kids to go to college with the 529? I am definitely unsure how much to put in for mine because I don't know if college will be around 18 years from now. But there is a new rule that came out, right, Aaron, that you can roll it into an IRA now. So
Yeah.
there's options out there now.
I'm looking up the website because like, off the top of my head, I can't think of what it is. So investor.gov has a calculator called compound interest calculator. So can I scare my screen? Am I allowed to?
I think it will let you.
Let's see.
So
If I want to first, though, let's filter this out first, though. What
No,
you showed.
it's educational. All right. So am I allowed
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, you gotta
with
just
an arrow, click that, and it will say
I'm a-
share screen.
there you go.
All right. So we see this, right? So if I put $10,000 in right now, monthly contribution, if I just leave it alone for 15 years, estimated rate will say 6.5 with a 2% variance. So it could be 4.5 or 8.5. Calculated out annually, this gives me how much will that $10,000 be in 15 years. So it could be as high as $33,997 or as low as $19,352, depending on what the interest rate is. So if I did an annual contribution, if I want to write off against my taxes, we'll just say $1,000. See how that changes it. So, whoa, that's a big change. So 15 years could be worth $372,000 or $268,000. So like these are the kind of things I look at when I'm doing like projections, and you can do the same thing for real estate, right? So if I buy a house for we'll say $300,000, and length of time in years, we'll just say 5 years. So it increases at 2% because we talked about the variance before, the appreciation. No variance. Actually, let's just 2 with the 1% variance. So it could be 1%, it could be 3%. What's that house worth? That the $300,000 house is now worth $331,000. So like this is a really good tool that I always try to push on people. I'm doing me and Caleb were talking about this. The one who's supposed to be on today is I'm doing a presentation for recruits, firefighters, cops, cadets, to show like why you invest in a 457. But I'm going to use this to show housing and everything else, like 529 plan, 457. Just because like these are good numbers to understand and know is that if I put $10,000 in, for a real estate, $300,000. But if I put $10,000 in now, monthly annual contribution, I'm sorry, that should have been not $1,000. We'll do $100, so it's $1,200 a year, 15 years, interest rate 6.5 with a 2% variance. Calculate it out so that will grow into $54,000 on average. It could be as high as $67,000. So it really depends on how much you're looking at putting in there, and what you want to do with it. So for me, I know this very specific question. If college is still around in 15 years, you can use this for, if I go to private school, we can use it to buy books, I can go buy computers. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can put into it now. And if you don't use it, I think it's like $3,500 a year as you can roll into a Roth IRA or SDR. I can't remember which one it was. So these rules always change. Like whatever now is obviously not going to be the same in 5 or 10 years from now because something's going to change. But yeah, that's the 529 plan is just like it's not the probably the best use of my money, but it's a set it and forget it, and I can afford it. So that's why I'm flipping this house to put it in there to set it and forget it and have less decision making capabilities.
Yeah, I think they had to make it more flexible because less and less people are choosing the college path route. Plus, yeah, other people are putting it in other investments, right? So they did have to make it a lot more flexible now. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I gotta run. I gotta take my mom to the appointment soon. But earlier today, we had Brandon on and Brian Waters, a fire captain in LA County. The topic was kind of the power of saying no, I guess. So maybe we'll wrap it up with each of you touching on. Let's see. One of the questions we touched on was, how do you know when no is wisdom and when no is just comfort? So, Ike, you want to go?
I agree with Brandon. It's all subjective. But on that whole topic as a whole, a lot of times when I talk about my story, it was story of analysis paralysis. So I sat on the sidelines for a long time doing side real estate stuff, but not actually getting involved myself in the investing, and have a lot of regrets about that. But I would say, the first deal I did is working out really good now, just over 4 years later. I wouldn't do that deal now, but that's because I know more and have better resources and a lot better tools to work with. But I think if you're just getting started, like, you got to know what your bandwidth is, and if you're not doing anything, just go ahead and do something. But if you've got a lot going on, then yeah, you probably need to be pickier. That's something I'm working on this year. Is like I want to do better deals than I have in the past, just because I've got traction, I've got things to do, and I've got properties I got to keep up now. So I only want to do better deals than what I've done in the past. But at the beginning, that first what I thought was a base hit turned into really, so far has worked out really, really well for me. And I'm really glad I just took that step. So
Emily?
I think you have to know yourself first and really be honest with yourself about your personality, because some people say yes to everything. And so then maybe you need to learn to say no more. And maybe you're a people pleaser, maybe you're whatever. Some people are really good at saying no. And like Ike said, maybe you're not doing something because you're analysis paralysis, especially people wanting to get into the market. And so if that's your personality, then you kind of need to pony up. So you got to look internally before you answer this for yourself. For me, one thing I realized was when I started, I had to buy the absolute shittiest house because that's what I could afford. And the skill set I had was construction. But then when I looked at, okay, if I buy something that's so bad, it takes this long to renovate, and I go that long without a profit, whether it's going to be a rental or a flip, I'm carrying it without making money for that long. It's what I had to do when I started, because I could only afford a $40,000 house. I couldn't afford a $120,000 house. And I didn't know or wasn't comfortable with hard money or lines of credit or any of that. Now, if I'll go look at houses that are really cheap, but they're huge projects. And if you really look at how long it's going to take you and how much time that house is going to sit, it's not necessarily the best buy. It might be better to buy something a little bit more expensive that's going to take you less time and be costing you money for less time while it's making you no money. And so sometimes I think also you have to look at what I started with isn't what works for me now. And then I'll leave it with, I always love, if anybody knows who Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett is a huge, one of the smartest, wisest stock investors ever. And he just retired. His business partner, who people don't hear about as often, was Charlie Munger, who just died a couple of years ago. And I read a thing that said Charlie would say too hard. Like sometimes something would come to them as a business opportunity and it would work, but too hard, too complicated. So I found myself in the last couple of years when deals come up going, could I make it work? Yeah. But is that the best use of my time, money, and energy? Probably not. And so I'm saying that to myself so much now. But when I started, I didn't have that luxury. And so it's, who are you? What's your personality? And where are you at in your journey? That might kind of change.
Before Aaron answers, I kind of want to add a little to his, since you mentioned earlier you probably could or should have retired, maybe 15 years ago. Was it because of comfort, though, you think, that you stuck around? I know you said you enjoyed it, but what part was part of it comfort?
Uh, this is a really long answer. You sure you want? You sure you want to answer it?
Up to you, man.
All right. So, 10 years ago, there was a house fire where a Greek family got tortured and murdered over the course of two days. Right. So, if you look up the Greek mansion murder in D.C., I got hurt in that fire. Um, I went through a floor. I rolled my ankle. The police and fire clinic told me that I had a sprained ankle. Blah 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 blah. So for 9 months, I was just a bitch. It's come to find out they misdiagnosed me. I had every ligament in my ankle detached. I had torn cartilage. I had avulsion fractures and blah 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 blah. So they tried to retire me at $18,000 a year. So that's when I started hitting real estate a lot harder because I really don't want to be poor again. So that's the shortest abridged version of when I started hitting real estate harder. I was like, okay, but then I was like, okay, I'm healthy again, so stick around, I'm still having fun, and that varies, depending on how long you do in a career. This is year 26 for me in the fire department. This is year 20 going to 23, 23, yeah, 23 in DC. So it's fun. Like I have a lot of fun. I have a great job. Fire department job is a great job. It's the only place where you can give somebody a dollar bill and they're complaining about how old or how worn out it is. Um, so yeah, but then I was like, now I'm to the point where okay, I've got 2.5 years left. So in 2.5 years, I'll get a pension the rest of my life. I get forever benefits. We get cost of living raises. So there's a lot of benefits. That was to answer your question, leading into the other question. That was a very emotional time for me because I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know if I was going to ever run again because I used to run. I was like I said the last podcast. I was trained to run a marathon when I got hurt, so it was on trails. So that's why I was asking Emily about her marathons was that I used to really love running. But yeah, it was partly emotional, partly intelligent. And I think when you say you have to say no, it kind of leads into that is your no an educated no or is it an emotional no? And you have to know where it's coming from. You're muted.
Sorry. Yeah. All right. Yeah, well, Rapid Brady says I probably say no too much, but I'm highly risk adverse.
Me too.
That describes, I guess, how Emily was presenting. That describes how I feel about heavy rehabs. If I'm gonna take on that much work, then I prefer new construction, way more predictable.
Are you going to answer, Mark?
What was it? It was how do you know when no is a wisdom and when no is just comfort? How do you know when no is?
Get him, Emily. Get him.
I think for me, it's and Aaron and Ike will probably agree. It's a lot of it is I think just our mentality. First responders, we kind of just jump into a lot of things, right? So a lot of times there is not a lot of wisdom, I would say, associated with our initial response or reaction to things. And Ike can attest. His first deal, he's not saying he would do it again today, but it worked out okay. He learned, and I think that's where most of my decisions come from, right? Is just we just jump in, we figure it out, and we have enough information to make a somewhat educated decision on it. We're never going to have all the answers or all the information, and we do our best, and it's all just learning. The whole process is constantly learning and just making sure we don't make those same mistakes again, right? So like Ike now where he's at, he's saying like if that deal presented itself today, I probably wouldn't do it, but he is still glad that he did it, right? And I think that's the biggest thing is we just have to kind of jump in and instead of waiting on the sidelines, like Ike was saying, maybe in the beginning he was on the sidelines a little bit, but now he's rocking and rolling. I see a lot of his social media. He's doing a lot of stuff, and he will be in Vegas. Emily's going to be in Vegas. Ike will be in Vegas. Trying to convince Aaron to go. Tyler's going to come up and check it out. He said.
Too far. Too far, and I got two little ones. Ain't having them. I would love to.
All right. Well, when we have the Pittsburgh one, we'll let you know when we come out to Pittsburgh on the next one.
Why would I want to do that shithole? Oh, I mean, no,
I just want to know how long it's going to take to build the Wegmans in Pittsburgh. I mean, it's like I really want to go inside the Wegmans. That's going to take years. But
I still have no idea what that is.
It's a grocery store.
It's a magical place.
I know Buc-ee's.
Isn't Buc-ee's a gas station?
Buc-ee's is amazing.
Buc-ee's is everything.
Oh, okay. I've never been to a Buc-ee's.
Buc-ee's is amazing.
Bucky's just came to the East Coast. It's like an hour for me. Like people were traveling to go to Bucky's for the
Yeah,
experience. It's the first one on the East
it
Coast.
is. It is awesome. So yeah, if you haven't been there, you gotta check out Bucky's. I guess Wegmans apparently, but they're opening one up in Pittsburgh. I believe. I forgot exactly where, but yeah, that's the next big thing coming out there. Yeah. Any final words? Ike, you got all your accommodations for Vegas? You're all set?
Not yet. I got to figure out if this appraisal's
Tickets,
coming in
hotel.
yet. I'm
Huh.
waiting on this appraisal.
All right, Emily. I know she. I know Emily's husband's taking care of all of that. She does have the tickets. Aaron. So yeah. So Caleb, quickly then, since Caleb wasn't able to make it, what can people expect from Caleb next time he's on or when he joins us?
So Caleb is a firefighter medic. He works in the EMS side of San Antonio, Texas. I think he's got 13 years in the job. He called me the night we're in the same shift because they work 24/72 as well. And he called. We just kind of spitballed some ideas, and he wanted to hop on here to kind of get the information out. He's passionate about trying to help people get in a better financial position. So we've been talking about how we're going to present stuff to invest in this, not in that. He's got 5 or 6 doors, I think, if I remember correctly. He's looking at doing his financial planner down the road. But he's trying to get kind of information out on his Instagram page, and I can't remember what it is. It's something fire related.
Yeah, right there. So first responder finance. Go check him out on Instagram. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to make it today, but we'll get him back on. Hey, Hugo's here. What's up, man? But yeah, we'll get Caleb on hopefully in the near future. Everyone, thanks for tuning in to this second one of my live today. But I'll see everyone tomorrow. I'll be back with Joe and Lauren and possibly a return guest. It's been a while since he's been on, so I'll leave it at that. But everyone, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you folks tomorrow. Thanks, fellas.